Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, a new study looks at the effects of tax cuts on Arizona's fiscal health. Also tonight, a milestone for a student-centered customized education program. And we'll hear about an organization that helps abused children. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The former head of the Arizona Lottery is under investigation by the state attorney general. Tony Bouie resigned in January following allegations of mismanagement involving state cars, hiring practices, and agreements with sports teams. A spokesman for the AG's office confirmed that Bouie is under investigation but would not provide details. Bouie was appointed to the position by Governor Doug Ducey. And State Senator Adam Driggs announced today that he will not seek re-election this fall. Driggs, a Republican and son of former Phoenix Mayor John Driggs, has served in both the House and Senate for the past decade. He says that the decision is based on wanting to spend more time with his family. And a report by two ASU economists looks at the impact of tax cuts on state revenue and the ability of the state to pay for government services. Joining us now is the study's co-author, Tom Rex of ASU's W.P. Carey School of Business. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
The impact of tax cuts on Arizona revenue. What'd you find out?
Well, it's about $4 billion since the early 1990s.
And that's what we're talking 20 some odd years here?
Right. The first one went into effect in fiscal year 1993.
And $4 billion over the last 20 years. Is that because of the tax cuts, or how do you factor the recession into that lost revenue?
Well, the JLBC, the Joint Legislative Budget Committee, each year estimates the effect of tax changes. And so we just take those numbers and bring them forward to today. So it's totally independent of what's happening with the economy, that estimate.
So, but is it safe to say that numbers today would be $4 billion more even with the recession, or?
Yes, well, we're pretty much past the recession.
Right.
Now. We're all but fully recovered from the recession. So yeah, we're talking $4 billion less in revenue this fiscal year in the general fund alone than what we would have had there been no tax changes whatsoever over those 23 years.
On an individual basis, did I read it 30%? We're all paying 30% less in taxes than in 1992?
Yeah, that's what that $4 billion equates to, is a 30% reduction.
And that's us. What about corporate tax cuts that are being phased in even as we speak?
Yeah, for a long time, through the 90s and 2000s, almost all the tax cuts were on individuals. So it's only been in the last few years that we've started to see the tax reductions to businesses. They still pay relatively more than individuals do in taxes.
As far as the impact on government programs, what are we seeing out there? I know your study looked at raw numbers and these sorts of things, but grand picture here.
Well, you know, if you're going to remove $4 billion from the revenue stream, you're going to have to cut spending by $4 billion. It's just simple arithmetic. State and local governments can't run deficits like the federal government can. So you spend only what you have. And education in particular, that's about half the budget between elementary and secondary education and higher education. So you got to expect you're going to see cuts to education if you're going to have a $4 billion reduction in revenue.
And we have seen cuts to education. We've seen cuts in a variety of areas. The likelihood, though, that those cuts could be restored with these tax cuts not only in place over the years, but the phasing in of corporate tax cuts and breaks and such. I mean, is it even possible?
Not with the current revenue structure, no. I mean, we're running a small surplus right now because the economy is doing better. We'll probably run a little bit of a surplus for a couple of years. There'll be another recession, and when the next recession comes, we will be running a deficit once again.
For those who say that tax cuts stimulate the economy, what does the study show?
It is true that some tax cuts, particularly corporate tax cuts, could have such an effect. Now, we've just started doing the corporate tax cuts. Theory would tell you that individual tax cuts should have almost no impact on the economy. And when we did an empirical study, we found absolutely no effect from the tax changes whatsoever. Nothing.
Why did you say theory would suggest that? Because I know we have many lawmakers on this program, and they all say that if I give you a tax cut, that puts more money in your pocket so you can go out and spend it.
I spend the money the same way the state government spends the money. There's no difference. What you've got to do is, if you think that you can stimulate the economy, you stimulate it by cutting taxes on businesses that are free to move from one place to another. That's what drives the economy, businesses like Intel or Raytheon. What you want to do is attract those companies. One way that you could do that, potentially, is to lower corporate taxes. That's where you get your economic impact. You don't get any economic impact by just telling me, okay, you can spend $100 the way you want instead of my giving it to the state government, who in turn spends that money also in the local economy.
Again, those who support tax cuts say that they basically pay for themselves by way of economic growth.
It is possible, again, under certain conditions. And again, we're talking about certain conditions. So supply-side theory is not wrong. It's just people try to apply it under any and all situations. In reality, it only works under these very particular cases, and it's going to work much better with corporate taxes than it is with individual taxes.
And you're saying those particular cases involve corporations, involve those who have a choice as to whether or not to stay here?
That, plus if you're going to do a tax cut and think it's going to generate more revenue and all, you've got to have taxes be way higher than your competition. That was never the case in Arizona, even in the early 1990s.
And yet, again, the lawmakers that I have on the program say that the worst thing we could have done during the recession, before the recession, now struggling to get out of the recession, the worst thing to do would be to raise taxes. Do they have a point?
You never, when you're in a recession, you don't want to raise taxes, but you don't want to cut spending either. They both have negative effects. Turns out that the cutting spending has more of a negative effect. So what you ideally do is never get yourself in that situation. Unfortunately, we have a very cyclical economy. We cut taxes for many years before the last recession, whenever we could, didn't really cut spending enough to match those tax cuts until the recession hit. And then we had to do it at the absolute worst time we could.
And again, you were basically saying that you basically have a choice. You either spend the money or you don't. And it sounds like voters elect lawmakers who cut taxes. I mean, year after year, they are sent to the Capitol and they do what they are sent to do. Is that basically the public saying, go ahead and cut education, go ahead and cut health care?
Well, I mean, that would be one interpretation, wouldn't it, of the electoral process. On the other hand, you have voters saying that they want more money spent on public education. Those same people may be electing people who are adamantly opposed to spending more government money. It's up to the voters. Voters need to decide what they want.
Is that what we take from this? What do we take from this study?
Voters need to decide if you want more funding, say, for education, you will have to pay more in taxes yourself. If you don't want to pay more taxes, then you're not going to be seeing any more money spent on education. Simple as that.
Bottom line. All right, Tom, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
Move On When Ready is a customized education and graduation program that's based on the mastery of subjects as opposed to how long students have been in school. Move On When Ready is celebrating its 5th anniversary. Here now to talk about the program is Sybil Francis, Executive Director of the Center for the Future of Arizona, which runs Move On When Ready. And we welcome Michael O'Sullivan, Chief Executive of Cambridge International Examinations, which provides international qualifications for Move On When Ready and other students as well. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again as well. Give me a better definition of Move On When Ready.
Well, first of all, Ted, thank you so much for having me back. It's very exciting because we did talk with you when we first got it started. As you know, the Center for the Future of Arizona is very interested in rethinking how we design our educational system to keep up to date. Move On When Ready is one of those educational initiatives that we are involved in. It really stems from the fact that our education system has changed and we need to keep up with that. So 100 years ago, nobody went to high school. 50 years ago, high school was an endpoint, and now kids need to graduate college and career ready. So Move On When Ready is a system that we work with 20 schools to deliver, which basically says we believe all students can succeed and that all students need to be prepared to be college and career ready by the time they graduate.
And when you say you're working with 20 some odd schools, I think 26,000 students somewhere
Correct.
along those. I mean, are they how does that work? Are they separate classrooms, separate teachers?
Well, many of our schools are what we call whole school model, which means that every single student is engaged in this program. And as you said, the system is based on mastery versus seat time. So today a student earns a high school diploma by checking the boxes that they've taken all the right courses. That does not mean, however, that they're ready for college or career. And we know this because when they get to college, they need remedial coursework. So what we're saying is let's flip this equation on its head and say we're committed to every student being college and career ready. Some students will take more time in certain subjects. Some students will master them more quickly. But in the end, they're all reaching for the same bar.
Cambridge International Examinations. What is that?
Well, we're part of the University of Cambridge, which is usually considered one of the top 10 universities in the world. 8 of them, of course, are here in the USA. But we stand out in one respect. We're the only one of those universities that owns and runs a global not-for-profit exam board, which also offers a K-12 curriculum and an instructional system for teachers.
And you work with Move On When Ready and other
Yeah.
folks around the country?
We do. We do a lot of work in several states, but particularly here in Colorado. We're very proud of this partnership, which has now, as you said, run for 5 years. I think it's making a real difference in the attainment of students in these schools.
How is it making a real difference?
I think a couple of things. But let me start with the students, because we talk a lot about making schools deliver better education, but education is about what students learn. And what I've seen today, I went to Dysart High School this morning, and I think the governor may have had a similar experience in Yuma yesterday, is students on this program, we're talking 9th and 10th grade students, who say, this is tougher, it's inspiring us, we're learning more.
How are they? I mean, learning more, I mean, is there a different way to present this information, a different way to teach it, or are you basically just saying, you know, student A should be moving at this pace as opposed to student B at another pace?
Well, the beauty of our Cambridge University partners is that they know how to define and express what college and career readiness looks like. So first of all, we have a great bar that we're aiming for. And then it also provides information to teachers and to schools about how do we help get students to that point. And so students, for example, what happens is a student may take biology their first year as a freshman in high school. And in the current system, if a student passes their course, then they just go on to the next course. In this system, we're expecting students to be proficient in biology at a college-ready level before they can move on from biology. So for some students, they're going to need to do some more in-depth work. The way we are able to do that is that the Cambridge University examination systems provide us the data. They provide very high quality data that says this student needs this kind of support, this other student needs some other kind of support, and this is very important for the teachers.
Have those guidelines changed in just the past 5 years or so? Have they changed at all?
They change all the time, Ted. Education can't stand still. Scientific knowledge changes, new research shows us even better ways to organize education. So all our syllabi are reworked and revised about every 5 years to make sure they stay competitive.
Have you had some blowback from certain aspects, certain corners of the education community on something like this?
I must say the feedback here in Arizona is terrific. We're really well rewarded by the commitment of teachers and principals in the schools, but above all, as I said, by the passion that the students are bringing to this. Let me give an example. Just last year, Imagine Prep Surprise High School here in Arizona, 80% of the 9th grade students demonstrated college readiness on a rigorous international Cambridge assessment. They measured up against strong students all over the world.
I seem to remember there was like a Grand Canyon High School diploma, something along these. Does that
yes,
still exist? What is that?
Absolutely. So a student may earn a Grand Canyon diploma if they're able to show college and career readiness in every academic subject. So they need to show college readiness in math, in English, in the sciences, in history, and the other required courses. So it's not just focused on math and English, it's really focused on the full breadth. And just to add to the other question, the students we're finding, as well as the teacher, are so stimulated by this program because it is very high quality. And what do we mean by high quality? It promotes analytical thinking, problem solving, addressing issues that one has never seen before, deeper thinking. And so teachers and students both are very excited by this kind of approach to teaching and learning.
But with that Grand Canyon High School diploma, does that mean my kid gets that, so my kid automatically gets out of school and into college, or does he or she have to stay in school? How does that
Well,
work?
the Grand Canyon diploma signifies a student is prepared to take the entry-level courses in college without remediation should they choose to go that route. Now, as you and I discussed a few years ago, some students who are very well prepared and motivated and working hard could achieve that potentially after 2 years. Yes, they could move on to community college, let's say, but most families are probably not going to want to do that, but it is an option. The option they have once they earn the Grand Canyon diploma, these pathways open up for them, which is also something students love because they love to have choice. So they can take dual enrollment courses, they can take advanced courses in the Cambridge system or AP or IB, or they can do full-time career and technical education.
Are you seeing a general improvement in just overall, the grand scheme of things? Are you seeing kids? Are they getting this? Are they getting their act together out there?
Yes, they are, and I think we have to emphasize these are not the most privileged public schools in the state. These are ordinary schools. They've included schools that were considered struggling. They're schools with high presence of minority communities. These are real schools.
And so,
This is a very important
I was
point.
going to. I thought, was it 50% of Latino low-income households, as far as
Correct.
Arizona is concerned?
Yes, so this is a very, very important point, which is that we are committed in this program to all students succeeding and believe that all students can succeed. And the bar, while very rigorous, is set at a level that all students can and should succeed. So it actually is very appealing to high-achieving students as well as students who may have struggled, and that we're supporting them to reach those levels.
Very quickly, what's next for Move On When Ready?
Well, we'd like to expand the number of schools that we're working in, and frankly, even though we're our 5-year celebration mark, we're just getting to the point where these students are graduating from high school, so we're going to want to track them into their post-secondary experiences and see how they do, and keep learning from the program and improving what we're doing.
And what's next for you?
Look at grades 1 to 8 and how can we improve
Interesting.
before they get onto these programs, because that's where I think you'll see the really big payback.
Interesting. All right, good stuff. Good to have you both here. Thanks for
Thank you
joining
Thanks so
us.
much,
and congratulations.
Thank you.
Tonight's edition of Arizona Giving and Leading focuses on Child Help, an organization that works to prevent child abuse and provide services to victims. For more on Child Help, we welcome Baina Parker, the group's National Director of Prevention Education. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Okay, Child Help is what?
Child Help is the leading nonprofit dedicated to preventing and treating the effects of child abuse and neglect. We've been in existence for about 56 years, and in that time we've served over 9 million children nationwide.
56, how did this all get started?
Our two founders, Sarah O'Meara and Yvonne Feddersen, basically they were on a USO tour. After a giant storm, they were out taking a walk and they found a group of 11 children kind of huddled after a storm. They brought them into their hotel, realized that these children had been basically neglected. They were not accepted by their families. And that was when they kind of realized what a need there was. So they worked with those children, developed some services there, and then came back to the U.S. and kind of created Child Help.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Define child abuse.
Oh, child abuse, it's pretty much, every state kind of has some of their own definitions, but the broad understanding is physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, bullying and cyberbullying fall in under that as well.
Has that definition changed, you think, over the years?
I would assume so. As technology continues to
Yeah.
grow and we see a lot more of the impact of cyberbullying and the abuse that children can visit on each other, I think some of those things have been added in. Yeah.
And if someone sees the sign, first of all, how do you know? How do you know the signs of this kind of, especially the emotional abuse?
Yeah, no, there's signs and symptoms of abuse. Obviously, we have training. I oversee Child Help Speak Up, Be Safe, which is our prevention education curriculum. So we have training for our facilitators to help understand some of the signs and symptoms of abuse. When we work with school districts, we have mandatory reporter training, but we have resources on our website to help parents and community members kind of learn what some of those signs and symptoms are and how to recognize them in the children that they're around.
Address for that website?
Childhelp.org.
Childhelp.org. Programs to prevent child abuse and programs to provide services to
Yes.
victims. What are we talking about here?
Child Help, we have a lot of programs. We have brick and mortar facilities in Arizona, in California, in Virginia, and in Tennessee. And there we have residential treatment centers. We have some foster care. Here in Arizona, we have the Child Help Children's Advocacy Center of Arizona. And then nationwide, we have the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline. That's a hotline that's available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's staffed with trained counselors, master's degree, so that anybody, whether it's a child in crisis or a parent or community member who's concerned about a child, can call that hotline and get access to services in their communities. And then there's the prevention education curriculum, which is nationwide as well.
Wow. As far as child abuse reports, we've had a lot of controversy in this state over the program.
Yeah.
In general, from what you've seen, are those reports increasing, decreasing? Are they changing?
I personally am not an expert on the exact numbers, historically how they've changed. I know at our Child Help Children's Advocacy Center of Arizona in 2014, more than 8,000 children came through those doors, and that's just in the Phoenix area.
Yeah.
I know nationwide, on average, 5 children a day die due to child abuse or neglect, and that's 5 too many. That's a number that as a society we cannot accept. Arizona, unfortunately, is one of the worst in the nation. We report about 10% higher cases of abuse than the national average. So it's an epidemic that people don't recognize and don't talk about, but it's very much there, and unfortunately in every community.
So we have state programs. We obviously have Child Help here, which is a national program and a way to get this information out there. What more needs to be done?
I think raising awareness, helping communities understand that it is an epidemic and that there are things they can learn and do. For example, with Child Help Speak Up, Be Safe, this is a child-focused program, pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, that comes into the schools and helps children learn basic safety rules. The overarching message is that adults are responsible for keeping children safe, but there are things that children can learn that will help those adults, whether it's basic body autonomy, whether it's recognizing internet predators, all those different types of things are in that curriculum.
Interesting. All right, I understand there's a raffle, some sort of raffle going on.
Yes,
What's that
absolutely.
all about?
We have the Child Help Mega Raffle. This is an opportunity to help a child and win a prize. It's here in Arizona. The net proceeds of the raffle will be used to expand services in the state. There are 2,900 prizes. The grand prize is a $700,000 home from Meritage Homes.
Holy smokes.
And there's a 1 in 20 chance of winning. So we think everyone should go to childhelpmegaraffle.org and help support our programs.
Childhelpmegaraffle.org, huh?
That's it.
All right. Congratulations on the great
Thank
work,
you.
and good luck in the future.
Thank you
Thanks for
so very
joining
much.
us. And Wednesday on Arizona Horizon, former Ambassador Kurt Volker joins us for the latest in foreign affairs, and Ruth Pointer of the Pointer Sisters will be here to discuss her new book. That's at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Virginia G. Piper Charitable Trust. Committed to changing lives and strengthening community through investments in nonprofits and strategic initiatives. More information at pipertrust.org.